Okay, we're going to start. Hello, happy Friday. Happy Friday. It is end of a good week. And it is so beautiful outside today. I hope all of you get outside today. And welcome to Storytime. The last time we were in Narnia, I should give a shout out first. Today's shout out is going to, oh man, I don't even know how to give a shout out to because everyone is so great. I'm going to give a shout out to my class again. Everyone in the class. You guys have been doing such a fantastic job. Actually, I want to give two shout outs. So the whole class, and I want to give a shout out to Thatcher, the student Thatcher, who showed me his ducks. I don't remember if I gave a shout out to him already. I might have. I'm sorry if I'm repeating myself. To Thatcher and his ducklings, he showed me all his ducklings the other day over video call, and that was so fun. Shout out to Thatcher and all his ducklings, his 4 ducklings. It's cuatro patitos. Okay, so last time we were here, we were reading about the adventures of Eustace. That's the chapter that we're in. And Eustace found the dead dragon, and then he went into the cave. And of course, if he had read about dragons, he would have known what is always in a dragon's cave: treasure. So anyways, he found lots of treasure there, and he was like, wow, okay, well, how much treasure should I take from this island and from this cave? And so he decided to stuff his pockets with diamonds, and then he found this bracelet, and he was like, oh, here, I'll put this bracelet on me, that'll be good. And it was too large to fit on his forearm, so he stuffed it up to past his elbow. And then he was really tired, and he fell asleep on top of all the treasure. And in the meantime, Caspian and Edmund and Lucy were really worried about Eustace, and they were like, what is going on? Where is he? Why isn't he here? And Rince, one of the mates of the ship, said, oh, good riddance. And everyone else said, no. Even Reepicheep said, it was Reepicheep who as much as a biff he's had with Eustace, said, no, he's Lucy's cousin. Like, you can't just abandon him out there. That's not right. So anyways, Eustace found out to his horror that he has turned into a dragon. And the bracelet, which was too tight for him, which was too large for him, now has grown really, really tight on his dragon's form. So he's wandering around trying to figure out what on earth to do with himself. In spite of the pain, his first feeling was one of relief in Eustace. There was nothing to be afraid of anymore. He was a terror himself, and nothing in the world but a knight, and not all of those, would dare to attack him. He could get even with Caspian and Edmund now. But the moment he thought this, he realized that he didn't want to. He wanted to be friends. He wanted to get back among humans and talk and laugh and share things. He realized that he was a monster cut off from the whole human race. An appalling loneliness came over him. He began to see that the others had not really been fiends at all. He began to wonder if he himself had been such a nice person as he had always supposed himself to be. Eustace longed for their voices. He would have been grateful for a kind word even from Reepicheep. When Eustace thought of this poor dragon, when Eustace had thought of the poor dragon that had been Eustace lifted. Oh wait, hon. When he thought of the poor dragon that had been Eustace lifted up its voice and wept. A powerful dragon crying its eyes out under the moon in a deserted valley is a sight and a sound hardly to be imagined. At last, he decided that he would try to find his way back to the shore. He realized now that Caspian would never have sailed away and left him, and he felt sure that somehow or other he would be able to make people understand who he was. He took a long drink and then, I know this sounds shocking, but it isn't if you think it over, he ate nearly all of the dead dragon. He was halfway through it before he realized what he was doing. For you see, though his mind was the mind of Eustace, his tastes and digestion were dragonish. And there is nothing a dragon likes so well as fresh dragon. That is why you so seldom find more than one dragon in the same country. But then he turned to climb out of the valley. He began to climb with a jump, and as soon as he jumped, he found that he was flying. Eustace has quite forgotten about his wings, and it was a great surprise to him to find the first pleasant surprise he had for a long time. He rose high into the air and saw innumerable mountaintops spread out beneath him in the moonlight. He could see the bay like a silver slab, and the dawn treader lying at anchor, and campfires twinkling in the woods beside the beach. From a great height, he launched himself down towards them in a single glide. Lucy was sleeping very soundly, for she had sat up till the return of the search party in hope of good news about Eustace. It had been led by Caspian and had come back late and weary. Their news was disquieting. They had found no trace of Eustace, but had seen a dead dragon in the valley. They tried to make the best of it and everyone assured everyone else that there was not likely to be more dragons about, and that the one which was dead at about 3 o'clock that afternoon, which was when they had seen it, would hardly have been killing people a very few hours before. Unless it ate the little brat and died of him, he'd poison anything, said Renz. But he said this under his breath, and no one heard him say it. But later in the night, Lucy was wakened very softly and found the whole company gathered close and talking in whispers. "What is it?" said Lucy. "We all must show great constancy," Caspian was saying. "A dragon has just flown over the treetops and lighted on the beach. Yes, I am afraid it is between us and the ship, and arrows are no use against dragons, and they're not at all afraid of fire." "With your majesty's leave," began Reepicheep. "No, Reepicheep," said the king very firmly, "you are not to attempt a single combat with it. And unless you promise to obey me in this matter, I'll have you tied up. We must just keep close watch, and as soon as it is light, go down to the beach and give it battle. I will lead. King Edmund will be on my right, and the Lord Drinian on my left, and there are no other arrangements to be made. It will be light in a couple hours. In an hour's time, let a meal be served out, and what is left of the water, and let everything be done silently." "Perhaps it will go away," said Lucy. "It'll be worse if it does," said Edmund, "because then we shan't know where it is. If there is a wasp in a room, I'd like to be able to see it." The rest of the night was absolutely dreadful, and when the meal came, though they knew they ought to eat, many found that they had very poor appetites. The endless hours seemed to pass before the darkness thinned and the birds began chirping here and there, and the world got colder and wetter than it had been all night, and Caspian said, "Now for it, friends." They all got up with the swords drawn and formed themselves into a solid mass with Lucy in the middle and Reepicheep on her shoulder. It was nicer than waiting about, and everyone felt fonder of everyone else at that ordinary time than at ordinary times. A moment later, they were marching. It grew lighter as they came to the edge of the wood, and there, on the sand, like a giant lizard, or a flexible crocodile, or a serpent with legs, huge and horrible and humpy, lay the dragon. But when they saw it, instead of rising up and blowing fire and smoke, the dragon retreated. You could almost say it waddled back into the shallows of the bay. What's it wagging its head for like that for? Said Edmund. And now it's nodding, said Caspian. And there's something coming from its eyes, said Drinian. Oh, can't you see? Said Lucy. It's crying. Those are tears. I shouldn't trust to that, ma'am, said Drinian. That's what crocodiles do to put you off your guard. It wagged its head when you said that, remarked Edmund, just as if it meant no. Look, there it goes again. Do you think it understands what we're saying? Asked Lucy. The dragon nodded its head violently. Reep-a-Treep slipped off Lucy's shoulder and stepped to the front. Dragon, came his shrill voice, can you understand speech? The dragon nodded. Can you speak? It shook its head. Then, said Reep-a-Treep, it is idle to ask you your business, but if you will swear friendship with us, raise your left foreleg above your head. It did so, but clumsily, because that leg was sore and swollen with a golden bracket. Oh, look, said Lucy, there's something wrong with its leg, the poor thing. That's probably why it was crying. Perhaps it came to us to be cured like Andronicles and the lion. Be careful, Lucy, said Caspian. It's a very clever dragon, but it may be a liar. Lucy had, however, already run forward, followed by Reep-a-Treep, as fast as his short legs could carry him. And then, of course, the boys and Drinian came too. Show me your poor paw, said Lucy. I might be able to cure it. The dragon that had been Eustace held out its sore leg gladly enough, remembering how Lucy's cordial had cured him of seasickness before he became a dragon. But he was disappointed. The magic fluid reduced the swelling and eased the pain a little, but could not dissolve the gold. Everyone now crowded round to watch the treatment, and Caspian suddenly exclaimed, Look! He was staring at the bracelet. Gold, said Caspian. A little hammer with a diamond above it like a star, said Drinian. Why, I've seen that before. Seen it, said Caspian. Why, of course you have. It is the sign of the great Narnian house. It is the Lord Octessian's arm ring. Villain, said Reep-a-Treep to the dragon, have you devoured a Narnian lord? But the dragon shook his head violently. Or perhaps, said Lucy, this is the Lord Octessian turned into a dragon under an enchantment, you know. It needn't be either, said Edmund. All dragons collect gold. But I think it's safe to guess that Octessian got no further than this island. Are you the Lord Octessian? Said Lucy to the dragon. And then, when it sadly shook its head, are you someone enchanted? Someone human, I mean? It nodded violently. And then someone said, people disputed afterwards whether Lucy or Edmund said it first, You're not Eustace by chance. And Eustace nodded his terrible dragon head and thumped his tail in the sea, and everyone skipped back, some of the sailors with ejaculations that I will not put down in writing, to avoid the enormous and boiling tears which flowed from his eyes. Lucy tried hard to console him and even mustered up her courage to kiss the scaly face, and nearly everyone said hard luck, and several assured Eustace that they would all stand by him, and many said that there was sure to be some way of disenchanting him, and they'd have him as right as rain in a day or two. And of course, they were all very anxious to hear his story, but he could not speak. More than once, in the days that followed, he attempted to write it for them in the sand, but this never succeeded. In the first place, Eustace, never having read the right books, had no idea how to tell a story straight. And for another thing, the muscles and nerves of the dragon's claws that he had to use had never learned to write and were not built for writing anyways. As a result, he never got nearly to the end before the tide came in and washed away all the writing except the bits that he had already trodden on or accidentally squished out with his tail. And all that anyone had seen would be something like this. The dots are for the bits that he had smudged out. I went to Slee, Rigos Argrons, Dragons cave, 'cause it was dead and aiming so hard, woke up and get off me arm. Oh, bother. It was, however, clear to everyone that Eustace's character had been rather improved by becoming a dragon. He was anxious to help. He flew over the whole island and found it was all mountainous and inhabited only by wild goats and droves of wild swine. Of these, he brought back many carcasses as provisions for the ship. He was a very humane killer, too, for he could dispatch a beast with one blow of his tail so that it didn't know, and presumably still doesn't know, that it had been killed. He ate a few himself, of course, but always alone, for now that he was a dragon, he liked his food raw, but he could never bear to let the others see him at his messy meals. And one day, flying slowly and wearily, but in great triumph, he bore back to camp a great tall pine, which he had torn up by its roots in a distant valley, and which could be made into a capital mast. And in the evening, if it turned chilly, as it sometimes did after the heavy rains, he was a comfort to everyone, for the whole party would come and visit and sit with their backs against his hot sides and get warmed and dried. And if one puff of his fiery breath would light the most obstinate fire. Sometimes he would take a select party for a fly on his back, so that they could see wheeling below them the green slopes, the rocky heights, the narrow pit-like valleys, and far out over the sea to the eastward spot a darker blue on the blue horizon, which might be land. And that's where we're going to stop for today. And I hope that you enjoyed our story. And it's good that Eustace got found out. And hope you have a great weekend. Miss you all, and hope that you have a great weekend. And we'll see you later.